All right, welcome everyone to another edition of the Story Trading VIP Weekly Meetup. We got a packed schedule tonight, so we're going to move quickly. First, a little overview of what we do. Story Trading is an investor network where we aim to beat Wall Street insiders at their own game through crowdsourced collaboration, which helps you get an understanding of the story behind the trade. And we also give you access to management and other VIP presentations through our VIP program. We do have an upcoming app in development, which will make it even easier to do all of this. So stay tuned to learn how to be first in line to get into that invite. Okay, so before we get started, we're going to do a quick performance review of our past featured presentations. I had to flip the order of the presentations around real quick because Dan has to get out of here. So we'll go quick with Dan, and then we'll go to Aaron's pick. He's brought a CEO on for his pick tonight, so that should be interesting. We'll go over the schedule, and then we'll get into trade of the week. So real quick, featured presentations, the performance. You can hop over to our website at any time, click the performance tab. If you do that, here it is. You can see how people are performing. I'm just going to point out real quick, there's a tab here, return by presenter. And you can see actually Dan Carlson is at a 100% average across his 3 picks over 159 days. That's 232% annualized. And Aaron Warwick is 72%, but that's across 5 picks, fewer days. If you analyze that, that's 263%. So interesting data to look at. Story trading is not an investment advisor, and investing in securities involves significant risk of loss. I'm not a certified financial advisor, neither is Aaron, neither is Story Trading. I just want to make that clear for everybody. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Aaron, and he brought a special guest with him as well for his presentation. Go ahead, Aaron.
Thanks, Ben. Yes, so some of you may have seen it already. Wrote an article that was published on Seeking Alpha earlier this week about a company called Biotricity. Ticker symbol is BTCY. And with us tonight on the call is Waqaas Al-Siddiq, their CEO. Just a brief introduction. Biotricity is a tech company that I think a lot of people would confuse as being a medical device company. I'm sure Waqaas will get into that this evening. But I first found out about Biotricity from the LD Micro conference back in December. When I was on COVID quarantine, I tried to watch all of them that were of any interest. I was very impressed with Waqaas's presentation, and specifically seeing the 2 things. Number one, the growth rate, the trajectory that they're on for the next couple of years, which again, I'm sure he'll talk about. But in addition to that, the way that they're disrupting the industry right now, especially as it relates to cardiac medical devices, the model that they're using, I presented Milestone Scientific a few weeks ago here. Milestone Scientific, as they're trying to disrupt, has an issue getting doctors to change over to them. But what Biotricity is doing actually gives the doctors significant incentive to change to their device. And I'm sure that Waqaas will talk about that this evening as well. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn the call over to him. Ben, you got him on here and ready?
I'm here.
Okay, go ahead, Waqaas.
You guys can hear me okay?
Yes, we hear you. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I apologize. I don't have video. I was having a bit of an issue with my camera, so I kind of left it alone. But I thank you, Aaron, for that intro and talking a little bit about and some of the work that you did in terms of learning about the company. I think that you made an important point that we are a tech company, and I'll kind of go through a little bit of the history before I kind of dive into what the company is about. And obviously, as CEO, some of the statements that I'm making on the call and it's really about my vision and the company. What I would say is that we have a track record of executing on some of the stuff that I've said, and we plan to continue to do so. But there is a future component here in terms of what I'm talking about. So with that, Biotricity was really formed as a remote patient monitoring company. We identified a big problem in the marketplace, or at least identified a need where we saw that the majority of technology in the diagnostic space really is not connected. It's really misleading when you use the word monitoring in healthcare. It's actually passive recording. So, what does that mean? That means in the traditional Holter space or in the traditional sleep apnea space or any of these spaces, you put on a device, you send the patient home, you collect the data, you then bring the device back, you download the data, and then a week or 2 weeks later, you get a report. And so we really felt that the future was in this idea of connected healthcare. And when we dove into this, we saw that, well, one, everything is siloed, and B, nobody's really got a platform. Nobody's really focused on the technology. So that's where we began, got original funding in 2014, built a platform, applied it in the cardiac space in 2016, and had our clearance by the end of 17, and spent 2018 really figuring out insurance. And what we built from a technology perspective is we built an IoT platform that is designed with all the real-time operating system, with all the connectivity. So all the cellular tech is ours. We have our own FCC ID. We have our own operating system that works on the device. All the algorithms, soup to nuts, everything was built by us. Then we built all the cloud infrastructure. And then we said, okay, well, this is all great, but medical device companies fail because they don't understand a reimbursement. There's no link to reimbursement. So then what we did was we really looked at what is going on in the reimbursement landscape. Where's the opportunity? Where does connected diagnostics or remote diagnostics live, right? And cardiac being the number one killer, we focused our eyes on cardiac and apply the technology in the cardiac space. And what we have today is a device that's called an MCT device, which is basically the high end of diagnostics. And what it is it's a one-piece device, the size of an Apple mouse with three electrodes. You hang it around your neck. It connects to your chest, and what it does is it records your ECG, but it's also actively analyzing your ECG. And so whenever it detects an anomaly, it alerts it to a call center. And in that call center, you got 24/7 nurse practitioners. They look at the data and they're like, oh, patient is having an emergency. Let me call the doctor and then deal with emergency response. And so it's a reusable device. Like I said, all the tech is built in-house, and it's intelligent. So it's an intelligent active monitor. And this area is a $1 billion market in the United States. Half of the United States isn't even aware of this. So we've done, as a tech company, we really like our data. So we, through the Freedom of Information Act and through open payments, we actually collected data to understand how our CPT codes being used. So we're very methodical in our go-to-market plan. And we realize that half the United States is unaware of it. And the reason for that is because of the way the landscape is laid out. So the reimbursement for real-time monitoring is $850. And there and another market, which I'm sure you've all probably heard of because they've done really well, is iRhythm, which revolutionized Holter monitoring. The reimbursement there is between $100 and $200, and that's a passive recording device. So there's a big difference. And because of that big difference, and because of the fact that it required monitoring, the traditional approach was outsourced. So, what does that mean? That means that the technology players are really not tech players. They're actually clinical players. They've got offices all around the country. I walk into a cardiologist's office, let's make Aaron a cardiologist. Aaron says, okay, that's great. I don't know what's going on with you, but you're a high-risk patient, so I'm going to refer you to one of these providers. They will then go hook me up. In their clinic, I go there, I get hooked up. If the data is collected for a week, when I'm done with the device, I go back to them and I return it. And the cardiologist gets the report. The cardiologist makes $25, and then they do the diagnostic work, which is whatever prescription, procedural, etc. And so when you look at that, what we saw was that there's an opportunity to just play a pure technology play. And then when we saw that why doesn't half the United States know about this, it became very crystal clear because of the fact that if the population wasn't big enough or the state was too dispersed, why would you set up infrastructure to deal with that? And so long story short, in the market today, there are 4 players, including us, that have this technology. Our business model is very unique. We provide the technology for the doctor. They put it on a patient. They bill insurance. We get paid a technology fee. So it's a reoccurring model. We verified that in 2018. We launched the product in 2019, and we've had triple-digit growth since. And we expect that to continue. We now have 300 centers across 20 states. And our model is basically going to cardiologists, multi-care groups, and hospitals, allowing them to do this in-house, use the technology internally, and build directly, and then we charge a technology fee. And so what has happened while we build this ecosystem, we're growing by doing two things. One is by having a direct sales force and expanding offices and closing more hospitals and basically adding to our network. But we also have a product pipeline, because our focus has always been, how do we deliver more remote patient monitoring and more technology to the physician within a framework where you have reimbursement and where we can charge a tech fee. And so we have another product which we filed for at the I believe it was the end of December, which is the Biotricity product. That's for Holter. So now, instead of going clinic by clinic, we now have 1,100 cardiologists that we can sell directly to. And then that product will compete with the market that's directly adjacent to us. So in cardiac diagnostics, you have real-time monitoring, that's $1 billion market. Then you have Holter monitoring, which is a $3 billion market. And so we immediately increase our total addressable market to 4 billion. And we have this other product, but now we're selling within the network. So and everything that we do in terms of Biotricity, there are three kind of pillars that we really, or I would say four pillars that we really care about. One is we have to own the tech, and we have to build all the tech in-house. So everything soup to nuts is always built by us. Second, the model has to be a reoccurring technology model. We do not want to get into the clinical space, because the clinical space, there is money there. A lot of people ask me, and I've always said that it's a valuation thing. You can go chase after the clinical stuff, but it's low margin. It's 15-20% if you're very, very good. But then what you deal with is now you're a clinical company and your multiples are not of a tech company reoccurring model. So we always follow this reoccurring model. The third is we always want to align with reimbursement with CPT codes that are existing and structured in a way where it's technology as a service. So that's kind of the summary of the company, the high level, where we are today. We've despite COVID, because obviously it has impacted us in positive and negative ways. Created a lot of awareness. Everybody wants remote monitoring. It's safer to be with a device that is intelligent, but yet you cannot go to doctors and hospitals and sell as you could before. But we recently did a financing. We're very capital conscious. We have a very clean cap structure, and our focus has been to really focus on growth this year. We expect to get to an $8 to $10 million run rate with our existing product. That doesn't include our product pipeline. We plan on executing on that product pipeline and getting a clearance within the next quarter and launching the subsequent product, which will add 20 to 30% of revenue across the board for us. I mentioned this in our earnings call, and feel free to read Aaron's article. He spent a lot of time doing some Q&A with me. But I don't mean to oversimplify it, but we are in a unique position where we've got $1 billion market, very little competition, limited competition. We've got the smallest, most accurate device in the market. We've got reimbursement established, and now it's execution on this product and execution on our product pipeline so that we can go deeper within our existing customers and the new customers that we bring on. And with that, I'll kind of turn it over back. I don't know, Aaron, if you have any other questions.
Great, thanks. Aaron, you want to go ahead? And
Yeah.
If you have any other questions, why don't you take the floor first before we open it up?
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to point out a few things. So just to give you guys context about what Waqaas was talking about in terms of revenue, they just had their first $1 million quarter that they reported earlier this month. Or excuse me. Yeah, I guess we're still in February for another hour or two. So they just had their first $1 million quarter, so $4 million run rate right now. So when he's talking about, getting to 18 million to 25 million run rate on their current product, that's what they're going from, and we're talking about in a 2-year timeline. And then in addition to that, as he said, with Biotricity, again, you can go look at the conference call, but he guided on the conference call for when that product gets approved to start adding 20 to 30% to revenue on top of that. And I mentioned in my article as well, you can read it. I don't want to bring them up here, but there's other products they're working on and an app that they're working on that could give further upside to that.
Perfect.
Okay.
And
Yep.
and then I saw a question that maybe I should respond to. It just came from, I think, Sanjay.
Yeah. Sure.
So he mentioned about, why is the technology not easy? So it's the algorithms that are very, very complicated and the cellular technology, right? So most people do not. So everybody in the space has adopted the approach of using a cell phone. So it's a two-piece device. Ours is a one-piece device because we built all the cellular technology into the device. That's very complicated because the wireless signals create all kinds of noise and they mess up the signal. So you really, really have to be like very tech savvy and tech intense to take on that headache, which we did. And we did very well. So that's a complicated thing, and most people do not use a one-piece solution, or if they are trying, they're taking like a cell phone board and plugging it in. It's really not a full control, and that's why they don't have their own FCC ID and whatnot. So that's a whole complexity around wireless, which none of these guys have. We happen to have it. So if someone wanted to exactly replicate us, they'd have to go through the wireless thing. Now, going into the med tech stuff. The reason the medical device itself is complicated is the algorithms and benchmarking and getting accuracy. It's always a moving target because the most recent clearance besides ours, so ours was end of 17, so call it early 18 because it was like December 24th of 2017 we got our clearance. The last clearance in our space was from 2012, right? So and the parallel to make is defibrillators. How many defibrillators are there in the world? There are 5 defibrillators because the algorithms for defibrillators are very complex. And we are very, very close to a defibrillator because what does a defibrillator do? A defibrillator checks your arrhythmia. When it detects an arrhythmia, it shocks you. We check for an arrhythmia. When we detect an arrhythmia, we transmit. Holter devices and all these stuffs, and none of them have built-in algorithms, and you have to do all of this algorithms in a very tiny footprint, and you're not able to upload this data on the cloud because if you're dependent on the cloud and the patient for some reason you can't alert the patient, that becomes a big problem. So the complexity is there. And going to your second question about patents, we've got an architectural patent. We did not file patents on our algorithms. We did that knowingly because nobody has filed patents on algorithms. No defibrillator company has done it, and no company with an MCT device has done it. And so we want to keep that trade secret. To your other point about insurance company cutting the reimbursement fee. So the national average is $800. The reimbursement for MCT has not changed for the better part of 5 years. And when I say it hasn't changed, it's fluctuated $1.25, $1.60, $2, something like this. And the reason it's not going to fluctuate, or maybe get cut, and I don't think it will get cut, is because the alternative is this patient's going to get checked into the hospital. Because what are the patients we're using? We're using patients that are going to end up having a stroke and end up in the hospital and running up a $100,000 bill. The incentive is to keep them out of the hospital. So and discharge them on a connected device. If you bring the reimbursement so low, then there's no incentive for the doctor to be on call. There's no incentive, like just check them into the hospital. So there has to be an art, and the reimbursement has been chopped over the last, before 5 years. It used to be like $1,500. Before that, it was $2,000. So it's already been chopped and sort of settled here in the steady state number of around 850, and it stayed there. And that's kind of where it's done. And then another point I would talk about when difficulty, iRhythm, they've got the $300 million that they got in capitalization. Their product was cleared back in 2009. They're basically using the same product, and they've never jumped in the MCT space. And this is because they'd either have to buy it, and it's difficult to build. And then there's another question about why can't Livongo or some other providers add this functionality to their business? Yes, they absolutely can. They would have to partner. So the problem is there's only four, besides us, there's four players, right? So you got five guys all together. And I actually say there's four players because two of the players actually white labeled one company. So they're actually, they're this the same company, just under two brand names. But what happens with the Livongo, and Livongo has to partner with these companies, or these companies have to give their technology to Livongo. But their model so far has always been that they want to keep all the money themselves. They don't want to, they've got the clinical infrastructure, they've got all of the stuff, they're getting the referrals. They don't want to share a piece of the pie. So Livongo would either have to build the product themselves, and remember, Livongo's model has been to go to the employer, right? This is doctor centric. So Livongo would have to sell into the hospital, into the doctor. So not only are you selling to a different ecosystem, but you're also trying to take revenue from a group of people that have, shown historically that they don't like to share revenue. Our model is different. They can certainly partner with somebody like us. I'm sure they will. They would if we were bigger. And as we grow, I think people will pay more attention. Recently, there's been an acquisition in this, two acquisitions in this space with Preventis, who didn't have any tech. They were white labeling a company called TZ Medical, and Biotelemetry are the biggest in the space. Philips bought them. So since those two acquisitions, there's really, when it comes to tech, we are the last game in town. There's another question about cash flow positive and the likelihood of shareholders being diluted in the future if cash runs low before you are profitable. Okay, excellent question. I get this asked a lot. So I'm very transparent. I do not chase profitability. I'm interested in value. So the most successful companies that have really hit it big are not profitable, but have $1 billion value and have huge excess and access to capital. So I would have a different opinion if the market was small. If it was $100 million market, we go for cash flow positive, we package it up and we sell it. It's an M&A play. We have a chance at a home run. It's a $1 billion market. The wholesale market is a $3 billion market. We have a unique business model. We have reimbursement established. It's a recession resilient business model, and everything is moving into the house. So you need less and less infrastructure. So this concept and this opportunity is a very real, and we are well positioned to capitalize on that. So I am focused on growth. I'm focused on triple-digit growth, and then double-digit growth. And between now and $50 million in revenue, my primary focus is growth. So I'm not looking at being cash flow positive. I could be cash flow positive if I wanted to in 18 months. You'd want to restructure the company. You'd fire me. You'd fire half the engineering staff. You'd go into a product maintenance mode. You don't want to innovate. You don't want to go deeper into the market. So all that, it would just be a different company. And within 18 months, you'd be profitable. And in terms of the latter part of your question, which is about shareholder dilution, the shareholders will get diluted, but I would say that, take our track record. We are burning $8 million a year right now, without accounting our revenue. Companies at this stage are burning $8 million a quarter. We are very, very cash thrift, if you will. We've raised about $42 million to get here. Companies, take iRhythm, who's done really very well, or even Biotricity. These guys that raised $100 million and they weren't even commercial, right? So we're commercialized, we're in the space and stuff like that. So yes, we will raise capital, but our focus is to raise capital when we increase our run rate, we increase our value. So shareholders will gain value. Every deal and transaction that we've done has specifically been designed to protect open market buyers. I'm very specific about that. So I don't do deals that have anti-dilutions, that have cashless warrants, that have all of these types of things. Sorry, there's another.
Another one in there.
Why? Our retention rate of 99% of physician is excellent. Just why the 1% rate? So The 1%, I mean, one left. Funny enough, there was a divorce. A wife had the practice. Husband took the surgeon side, the surgical piece, and he brought us in, and so he was, not liked after that. So anything associated with him was not liked. So we left there. Then we were not in Florida, so we had a couple of positions there. We actually ended up backing out of Florida because we couldn't find a sales rep to service the account and whatnot. Now we are in Florida, and Florida is our biggest territory, but we're in the north as opposed to the south. So that is what happened there. As we get another rep in the south, I'm sure those customers will come back. We try to make sure that we are available from a sales rep regionally, because again, these are devices and technology, reusable. It's important to have feet on the ground. And then in terms of 4G and 5G cellular connectivity, we incur that cost. So we have a direct relationship with AT&T and Verizon. We control all the HIPAA compliance, and there's multiple reasons for that. One is we want all of the data. Every snippet of data is stored and managed and controlled by us, and is very important because it helps us increase accuracy, but also is opportunity for future improvements and utilization. Second is we want the doctor or the physician or the hospital or the multi-care group to be completely tied to us. So everything is done in our infrastructure, and that's how we get our technology fee, right? You don't have to worry about anything. You don't have to worry about tech support. You don't have to worry about AT&T. You don't have to worry about anything. You just pay Biotricity, your tech fee. Everything is taken care of. All you have to do is deal with your devices. You don't pay your bill, you get shut down. And that's another reason why we want connectivity, because at the end of the day, if they control connectivity and we want to go in and shut a device down and make it a paperweight, we can't do that if we don't have full control.
Great, thank you. I think unless there's any further questions, Waqaas, we're gonna. How do you say your name, by the way?
Waqaas, like a K.
Waqaas. Okay, thank you. Yes, thank you. Well, let's take just one.
There's always one more, right?
Yeah, Rob Mock says, is there any way you can buy BTCY shares on a Sunday? So that's
that's a good question.
So
I can transfer him some for $15 or $20 a share.
Sounds good.
yeah, Aaron, any other closing thoughts?
Yeah, just sort of a subjective thing, I guess. I have a good friend who's an electrophysiologist, and I told him about this. I said, when I first started researching it, I wanted to get his opinion, but I also thought, this might be good. He was like, yeah, put me in touch with them. Immediately he was interested because he's in a state where Biotricity doesn't have any salespeople yet. So he's quite interested in it. And he's already set up or having his office staff set up a meeting to learn about it. So I think it's, like I said, I like this model. I think it's extremely attractive to the physicians because this is an area where, as Waqaas said, they're they outsource it now. This is something they can bring in-house. And one thing that's important to point out, my friend said, I don't know how to work though. We just signed a contract with this other company. I talked to Waqaas about that, and he said that usually those companies, since it's an outsource model, they can't stop the company. They can't stop someone like my friend and his practice from doing something in-house. So even if a doctor already has a relationship with a competitor, there's likely a way around that, even if it's under contract, because of the difference in these models. So just something to add to their ability to win accounts.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think the other thing to just kind of summarize it, it's half of the United States still isn't even aware. It's so when I quote $1 billion market, I'm basing it on what is existing reimbursement data that we've collected and we know. But you go to a state like Washington State, it's got 15,000 cardiac studies according to CMS open payments data, which I like to look at, and 48, literally 48, like 50, 48 are real-time monitoring. There's no real-time monitoring in Washington State because 15,000 studies is a very small market, and it's a geographically dispersed market. So it's a difficult one to penetrate. So states like Washington, Oregon, Nebraska, Michigan, Wisconsin. There's very, very low penetration. So as we go into states that are untapped territory, there's even a bigger opportunity.
I have a couple of quick questions. When patients go on real-time monitoring, is it usually for a short period of time, extended, or for like the rest of their life?
So it's 7 to 10 days. So I would say it's like in the world of diagnostics, right? Once you get diagnosed, okay? So it's a good point, because people ask me about the Apple Watch, and I'm like, well, the doctor's not going to cut you open and put a pacemaker in based on what your Apple Watch is going to say, right? So once you've been diagnosed on the Bioflux, you are a cardiac patient for the rest of your life, right? You either get a medication or you get a procedure. The diagnosis itself is 7 to 10 days. Sometimes it's longer, but on average, it's 7 to 10 days. Now, 6 months later, you have a follow-up. You feel something funny or whatever. Doctor is not going to adjust your medication. He's going to put you on a Bioflux again 6 months after that. So it becomes this yearly or every 6-month check-in where he's now using diagnostics not to diagnose you anymore, but to manage your condition and make adjustments.
Got it. Makes sense. And then as
There's
far
another-
as, sorry,
There's another question which I can answer. Will the BioHeart product be available in other countries? Yes, BioHeart will be available in other countries. We want to make Bioflux available. So this is another thing I've not really talked about a lot. So why did we build the cellular tech? Because we wanted control of the cellular modem, because then we can go global. This technology only exists in the United States right now. And we are the only company that has a globally a global cellular platform, so it can work anywhere in the world, and that is a very, very important aspect. Obviously, we are laser focused on the U.S. It's the biggest market. Reimbursement is there. As soon as you go international, you have all these the same issues that you have with other medical device companies. What's the market? What's the reimbursement, et cetera? So we have to stay focused. But all of our products will become globally available, and we want to make them available. Another question came in about uplisting. Yes, uplisting is a priority for us this year. It is definitely something that we really want to work on. It's unfortunate that it's an audience problem, right? We understand we've been so focused on the company, so focused on growth, but this year it's a mandate. I've taken on it as a personal deliverable that I'm prioritizing. We are actually, the last financing we just did has positioned us well to basically, we continue the plan is to continue our growth, post a couple more quarters of growth, get the next FDA clearance, execute on the business, and then as we perform, then go in and do the uplisting.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think we're going a little overtime, so we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you very much, Waqaas, for your time. Appreciate that. For everyone else, you can continue collaborating in the BTCY research group that we opened. I dropped the link into that VIP chat just a few minutes ago.
Yeah, thank you, and sorry for going over. And then if you guys have any other questions, I mean, I'm sure you can feed it to Aaron, and I'm always available, and I'll get you a response.
Great, thank you. All right, real quick, guys, before we go to our trade of the week, events coming up. Again, you can go to our website, click the events, and you'll see them right here. This Wednesday, it's actually going to be a free event. Jonah Lupton of Social Capital is going to be presenting at 4:30. Then we got Richard Chu with Digital Health Fix next Sunday. And Mark Gomes the Wednesday after that on asset allocation and portfolio management strategy. So all the registration links for these events are listed in the info section of our WhatsApp room. And with that, we're going to move over to Trade of the Week.